In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. Today, we're going to be remaking a movie that would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for us meddling, young adults. We're remaking 2002's Scooby-Doo with returning guest Paul Presley. So, Paul, is Scooby-Doo a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
It needs to be.
I agree.
This whole movie is kind of a missed opportunity because they didn't get to do what they originally intended to do with this movie. And I think that the world kind of deserves like a dirty Scooby-Doo movie.
I mean, this was so close. This is the thirstiest I've ever seen a Scooby-Doo.
So, I want to preface all of this by saying that I did work at the production company where they made Scooby-Doo, but none of the information that I'm going to talk about today was learned while I was at said company. If this somehow ever gets back to them and they says, "Hey, you said some weird things about our movie," I learned it online and not from you. But
that seems like a good transition to say. If audience members, if you haven't listened to our remake of An American Werewolf in London or Clueless, those were the previous two times Paul was on the show. But just in case you haven't seen that, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. So I'm a writer who doesn't get paid for it yet. So I've been working, I know, right? Isn't everybody? But so I've been working entertainment assistant gigs for about like 6 years now. And I've kind of worked all over the place. And I've met a lot of people and have had a lot of experiences, some of them bad, some of them good. I really liked working at the company that made Scooby-Doo. They were nice people. So go you guys. So this movie was originally intended to be super, super raunchy, which it like the first draft of the script, from my understanding of it, would have landed at like a hard PG-13, like maybe even had to like cut some stuff out to keep it from being R-rated. And all of the cast had signed on thinking that they were making that version of this movie. And then Josie and the Pussycats came out the year beforehand and bombed. And that one is like a more adult version of a cartoon. If you've never seen it, it's really good. It's on HBO.
Yeah, I love Josie and the Pussycats. Like, I know eventually I'll have to talk about that movie for this podcast, but I kind of love that movie as is, and I think it still holds up.
I think so too. I've actually watched it. So I watched three movies in preparation for this. So I watched the Flintstones with John Goodman, Josie and the Pussycats with Parker Posey, the fucking goat, and of course Scooby-Doo. And kind of watching them back to back, Scooby-Doo's clearly the best one. As far as production values go, like the Flintstones probably beats both of them, but Scooby-Doo's a better movie.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And a lot of that is due to the fact that they were kind of originally making it for adults. But so Josie and the Pussycats came out the year before this, I think, maybe 2 years, and it bombed horribly. Like, it got awful reviews. Nobody liked it. Nobody went to go see it. Which is, Sam, probably how you and I ended up going to seeing it so much. I saw it a lot as a kid because it was just on TV all the time, which was something that they tended to do with movies that didn't do very well at the box office.
You're a little bit younger than I am, so it came out in 2001, and then Scooby-Doo came out in 2002, but I saw Josie and the Pussycats at a friend's house when I was in high school. Like, I had some friends who were just like, we just saw this random movie, and it's amazing, yeah. Let's watch it. And that's kind of how I saw it a few times.
Yeah.
And then in college, again, I saw it a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, just looking at the numbers, it bombed so hard.
So bad. And it's
barely PG-13.
Yeah. There's a lot of really risque stuff in that movie. And, it's great. Like, I love it. It has a really fun social commentary that I feel like movies weren't doing very well at the time. And Josie and the Pussycats actually does really, really do a nice job. And it just like Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones, it does a great job of doing that live action cartoon style that I feel like if this had gotten made now, it would be too like CGI-ish, it would be like they would try to make it too much like a cartoon instead of just letting it like live and breathe and like being set in a normal human world. James Gunn was the most famous at this point, I believe, for making the Troma films. Do you know what those are, Sam?
I've heard the term. I'm sure someone's told me before, but tell me now because I definitely don't remember.
So Trauma was this group of dudes that made these like super nasty like horror comedy things that were all super low budget and really gross. One of the most famous ones, or some of the most famous ones, are Class of Nukem High and Toxic Avenger. And
I do know Toxic Avenger.
yeah. That's probably the most like recognizable thing that they ever did. And James Gunn, I don't think was involved in any of those. I think he was involved in some of the lesser productions, but he wrote like a dirty Scooby Doo script, and the production company like picked it up. Like everybody was really excited about it, and then Josie bombed, and they had to completely redo everything and make it for kids, which is why you get this really really strange mix of like, is this for kids? Like, is this for horny teenagers? Kind of thing that you get in the Scooby Doo movie, but thankfully it like really works in this one. I watched the sequel. I watched Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed a couple weeks ago, and it's not good. It's like it's just straight up not fucking good.
Yeah, that's too bad. I feel like I saw that one too, but that one I don't remember at all. But there's definitely stuff in this movie that sticks with you. And weirdly enough, this is a weird moment for me to say, but because I've talked about 80 something movies at this point, this is the first time where I'm like, there's something in this movie that is like spoiler worthy. And I know a lot of people don't care about spoilers, but I do. And for most time, it's like, we'll talk about the movie, but you can still watch it. This, I'm like, go watch the movie. There is something that can be spoiled, and it is so worth it.
Oh, do you mean the villain?
I do mean the villain.
Oh, yeah, no, the villain's great. I mean, yeah, if you basically turn this off now if you haven't seen the 2002 Scooby-Doo and like go spend a really enjoyable 90 minutes.
You might be driving, so I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to fumble for your phone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go for it, Paul.
Okay, so one of the most genius things about this movie was that they did a lot of kind of winks and nods to the canon of Scooby-Doo, which is really prolific. I've done a couple Scooby-Doo deep dives in my life, and there are like 15 different series, I think, of this show.
It's basically always been on the air, right?
Kind of. There was a dip like between the show that ended in the 80s and like people having renewed interest in it in the 2000s.
That probably makes sense, although I've always associated like a pup named Scooby-Doo with the 90s, but apparently that one also is from the 80s.
Yeah, it's older than you think it is. I thought it was 90s too, but it's yeah, I think it may have bled over a little bit into the 90s, but there was like
there was 88 to 91.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that was always my least favorite one anyways. I highly recommend the new Scooby-Doo show if you haven't. It's a lot. It's really really similar to the old one, but the monsters are a lot weirder and like I watched the original Scooby-Doo's a lot just because it's like fun to make fun of them. They make like the worst decisions ever.
They really do.
Like, let's split up. Like, what the fuck, man?
There is someone out here to kill you. Just
I know.
Be methodical and go as a group.
Also, whoever makes the rubber masks in this town must be a billionaire.
For sure, because goddamn.
And one of my biggest like Scooby-Doo plot holes has always been like, where are they getting the masks? Why does the Mystery Inc. A, not know this, and B, like not go to the mask maker and be like, yo, who made like the giant werewolf mask a couple weeks ago? Like, oh, Old Man Willikers, like, cool, great, amazing, got it.
Well, and this movie makes fun of that a little bit because like the opening like ghost bad guy is like the janitor who Pamela Anderson said she wouldn't go out with. So he invented an anti-gravity belt.
That as janitors have the capability of doing.
But only when inspired by rejection.
Rejection by Pamela Anderson. That's a very powerful thing.
You know what? You're right.
I always like forget that she's in this movie until it happens.
Yeah.
It's just like the weirdest celebrity cameo, and she doesn't do anything either.
No, she serves no purpose other than it's like, Pamela Anderson's in a Scooby-Doo movie?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think they're commenting on the fact that they used to do like all the Scooby-Doo episodes of like Scooby-Doo meets so-and-so, like Scooby-Doo and the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, and that's... So, originally, the whole movie was about the the ghost thing, like the ghost with like I forget what they call him in the movie.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
The
doesn't
clown
matter.
ghost.
The clown ghost from the beginning of the movie. So this was originally going to be like just a regular Scooby-Doo mystery, but like raunchy. And the entire script was just that. And that's why the promotional material has like the silhouette of that ghost on it instead of like the actual villains that you meet later in the movie, like the weird
Oh,
creep.
oh, I actually like that. I prefer it because I like it. It's like, this is going to be the big bad guy. And then you're 5 minutes into the movie and it's that bad guy's defeated. And you're like, oh, I like having this as the poster because it gives you a sense of what the movie is. And then 5 minutes into the movie, you're surprised and don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, which I respect, but I think I have a feeling that they probably had finalized that promotional poster before they actually
Finish the CGI.
finish the movie. Like because it sounds like this was supposed to be something completely different, and then they had like a year to fix it, and everybody was already locked into their contracts, and I'm sure that they had to rewrite this pretty fast because Sarah Michelle Gellar was probably the busiest of any of these people at the time because she was concurrently shooting Buffy with this, and the stipulation to getting her, which like it kind of sounds like she was always the one that they wanted for this, just because like she has a lot of horror credentials, and the director wanted a real life husband and wife couple to play Fred and Daphne, and it just makes sense.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was married to Freddie Prinze Jr.
They still are. They're still married.
Oh, are they? I don't know stuff.
Oh, really? No, they're like happily married. They're
Good
a
for
great
them.
couple. Yeah, they've been married. They met on I Know What You Did Last Summer, which weirdly enough they only share 2 lines of dialogue with each other on. But they liked each other enough from that, I guess, to get married, have children, and mostly what Sarah Michelle Gellar does now is like homemaking stuff. She's kind of like rebranded herself.
Well, after the failure of whatever that mystery show was with the brain or something.
The Brain.
I don't know. I just remember like when I first got to LA, like 9-10 years ago, there was
Ringer.
Ringer. Thank you.
Oh my god, Ringer's so bad.
Yeah, I agree.
It had so much potential. I like watched that with a friend in college who like we both loved Buffy so much, and I'm pretty sure that I watched all of Ringer, but like it wasn't good.
And now's the point where I should say I have been paid by Ringer. When I first got to LA, I did background work, and I did background on Ringer a few times.
Did you meet Did you meet SMG? Did you see her?
I definitely saw her, but I didn't meet her.
Yeah. Oh, well, you don't really meet people when you do extra jobs.
No. And if you do, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. No, you don't talk to anybody. Like if you talk to Sarah Michelle Gellar that day, you
will not be back.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will go home. So she actually shot this and Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 6, I believe, at the same time. And so she would spend 2 weeks in America shooting Buffy, and then she would fly to Queensland, Australia for 2 weeks to do this. And she just did that for like 6 months or something.
Sounds rough.
Isn't that insane? Can you imagine?
Of all the things to do, like neither should take up your whole schedule. I mean, I imagine they both want to film over the summer, but also no, they don't because it's Australia. It's a different season.
So it was Australia. They probably did film this during the summer. Were they all cold?
I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy.
There would be more nipple shots in this movie if they were cold. Maybe they. So James Gunn tweeted a couple years. James Gunn tweeted a couple years ago that the original cut of Scooby Doo was rated R for cleavage and all that, and they had to CGI a lot of it out. What if it was the hard nipples because they were shooting in winter?
Look, they can do a lot of crazy things with CGI. I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, they said that they had to CGI out like a lot of people's boobs.
Makes sense.
And in order to get it down to the film that we have before us today.
Yeah.
So the whole Spooky Island thing was like kind of last minute, which is why it feels a little slapdash at points. They basically had to make an entirely different movie, which meant that a lot of like the raunchiness from the previous iteration was left behind. And if you watch the sequel, everybody's completely covered up. They're in like turtlenecks the whole time. I think there were a lot of complaints when this movie came out from parents about everybody being so scantily clad for most of it.
I mean, they're on an island paradise. What are you supposed to wear?
Also, yeah, it's a bikini. Like, tell your kid to like not sexualize it, or you don't sexualize it, and your kid won't.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Yep. It's just a switch. You just turn it on and off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it's not a switch. It's
It's a
you,
systematic mindset that is established from birth.
yeah, that is
Go
true.
team.
Hey, but like the sequels, like soup, like they tone down all the raunchy jokes. Like it's still rated PG, which is the same rating that this movie eventually got, but it just doesn't have the same like snappiness to it that the first film does. And it got better reviews than the first movie, which was really strange.
Interesting.
And it's still written by James Gunn too. Like, what happened?
He probably that was probably as part of his contract with the first one, and they were like, "Well, we're already going to pay him. Let's just pay him to do the thing."
Yeah, probably. I mean, it has the same writer director. It's kind of surprising that it's so different from this movie, but
the same credited writer and director.
Yeah. Oh, that's also true. We all know that every script that gets made for like big budget movies like this is written by 20 people.
Correct.
But ideally, James Gunn actually had a lot to do with both films. Also, going back to the thing that we gave the spoiler alert for, everybody's been hanging on tight.
Oh, yeah, right.
5 minutes. So Scrappy-Doo is ultimately revealed to be the villain in this movie.
Is so good. And when I was watching this movie, like, a part of me just, like, all I wanted, like, so I'm watching the movie, and then there's this moment where Velma's telling this flashback about when they abandoned Scrappy-Doo on the side of the road. I would take that flashback out of the movie. If it were me, I don't want to see hide nor tail of Scrappy-Doo until, like, the robot bursts open. They're like, Scrappy-Doo? Because it's just, like, this shared collective, like, we know who that is.
Yeah.
And I don't, because if they tip their hand and like, oh, well, remember Scrappy-Doo, we know that's going to come back later in the movie.
Well, I have a rebuttal to that.
Fair.
So we know who Scrappy-Doo is because we watch a lot of cartoons, but Scrappy-Doo he's also one of the most hated characters in TV ever. He completely ruined Scooby-Doo. They weren't able to get another show off the ground for a long ass time after they did the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show.
Yeah.
I think it would be fair, especially if we're remaking this now. Like,
yeah, I agree. I think if we're remaking this now, we have to. But when this came out 18 years ago, and Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo had been on the air throughout the 90s, I don't think they needed it. Yeah. Now, 20 years hence, we do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we'll talk more about who we think our villain should be, I guess, later. But back to one of the things that this movie does the best is paying homage to the history of Scooby-Doo and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit of a shaky movie. I love it because, like, I remember going to see it in theaters and I was really excited about it. But I think that it's something that a remake could really improve upon if we ditch the idea of making it like a for children movie.
Yeah. Well, I think this is definitely one of those movies where it's clearly ahead of its time. Like, it has this meta-referential thing that kind of kicked in towards the end of that first decade of the 2000s. Now we're super into, like, yeah, let's call back, let's talk about these things. And I just don't think we're ready for that yet.
All of these people, except for Linda Cardellini, had been in Kevin Williamson horror movies prior to this, and Scream was really one of the first movies to kick off that metatextual thing in movies. And I mean, the casting in this movie is fucking phenomenal. Like, I don't think that our current generation of young actors has cool enough people.
Cool enough and well enough known, because now everything is like fractured into such very small niches that like every single one of these people was famous and like, oh, of course Sarah Michelle Gellar is a perfect Daphne, of course Freddie Prinze Jr. is Fred, and then there are people who still can't look at Matthew Lillard and not see Shaggy.
Oh, he's so good in this movie. I mean, he started doing the voice for all the animated ones after he did this because he's so good at it.
He is the perfect Shaggy.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to top that casting ever.
No, I don't think we will. We're going to try, but I agree.
One more thing I want to say about the history or whatever of this movie before we get into really remaking anything here. So there are a lot of deleted scenes from this film that they
Yeah, you made
shot.
me watch them.
It did make you because so they were at the end of the VHS when I was a kid, and I just like left it on one day. Oh, whatever, like it'll turn itself off. And then it started with these weird fucking scenes. The first selection are all like flashbacks to Fred, Daphne, and Velma's like lives before they go to Spooky Island. Like they're
Yeah,
like
so the Scooby Doo gang breaks up, and then so these are flashbacks to what they were doing and how miserable their lives were while they were broken up.
and like Velma's in therapy, like Fred is a joke at the Comic-Con. Daphne moves to Japan to study martial arts. And it's all like very jarring but kind of makes sense. And then they get into kind of the weirder ones. So there was a sequence where first of all, Velma was explicitly gay in most of the early drafts of this script. And then that was obviously nixed because we can't have our children looking at gay people.
Gay people are just simply not allowed. They had to add random dude in music shirt as love interest when she clearly spent the whole movie like thirsty for Fred for some reason.
She's thirsty for Fred and Daphne. Linda Cardellini's actually gone on record stating that she has intentionally played Velma as bisexual because that was the fucking script they gave her when she signed on to it, which I think is super cool of her.
Yeah,
and like
she literally describes, like, when she's describing both Fred and Daphne, she's like, oh my god, they're so attractive. And also talented at something.
Yeah. Like, she clearly wants a three-way with that, which, like, same. Me too. So she has this weird scene where she, like, does a, like, sexy song and dance on a piano, and, like, both Fred and Daphne are looking at her with, like, kind of lustful eyes. And it's really jarring to watch, knowing where it would land in the movie, which is like right before all the monsters attack at the big party, and Fred and Velma get captured. And then there's a scene where Daphne's like playing investigative reporter or whatever, and she finds Velma in the ladies' locker room with a bunch of women that are wearing nothing but bikinis, and Velma's like doing this really weird bro-y dance on top of one of the benches, and it's super gay. Like it's very obviously like a lesbian reference. And then they chase after Daphne, and then Daphne gets kidnapped by the big bulky man. And then the last important deleted scene of note actually should not have been deleted. It's just really scary. So Daphne gets her soul sucked out by the thing. Like, if you've seen the movie, at the end, there's like this thing that this giant arm that
the claw grabber.
Yeah, it grabs your soul out of your body. And when it happens to Scooby, it's not all that disturbing because he's like a dog. But I guess watching it happen to a human is really disturbing for children. Weird. Suck it up.
That's what the claw grab thing does. It sucks up the soul.
I know, like I feel like it wasn't reaching too far, but it also doesn't. The movie doesn't make sense.
I didn't find it particularly scary. I thought it seemed rapey to me.
Oh, it is a little rapey, but I mean that's the nature of what they're doing. They're like
it absolutely is, but that one felt like a little bit explicit instead of like off camera, like they did a bad thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I still think it should still be in the movie because the first time I saw this movie, I was like, when did Daphne get captured? Like that,
yeah.
We didn't. And there's that huge plot hole in the movie that this deleted scene answers. And like when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, like they're dumbasses. Like this is just kind of a shitty movie. And they really did film so much that just didn't find its way into the movie, which is really disappointing. But hopefully that is something that we're gonna fix today because you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
You're going to get a PG-13 Scooby-Doo movie today, kids.
Yeah, you are. So then let's talk about it. What are some of the things that we feel are necessary for a Scooby-Doo movie?
So my elevator pitch for this is to do a ski comedy and not do Spooky Island because we've kind of already been there. Also,
yeah, we've done... They do so many Scooby-Doo things on islands. Like there's some of the animated ones are also on islands. Like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is a thing.
I feel like it's already been done, so it's not quite as fresh. In the original show, they go to like skiing locations quite a bit, and they're like Arctic ghosts or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it would be a fun setting for it, mainly because everybody's not expected to like be in a bikini for the duration of the shoot,
Yeah.
just for the hot tub scenes.
Agreed. And also, one of the things I think we should avoid is the one person of color with speaking lines is a suspect because they're the one person of color with speaking lines.
He's a suspect because he's into voodoo shit.
Yeah, but like as soon as I saw him, I'm like, he seems fun. It's felt like I never suspected him at all, but he was like doing voodoo shit. But it all felt like, but he was also really bad at it.
Yeah.
I kept thinking he was going to be the ally they turned to help figure out what was going on. And then when they suspected him, I was like, wait, what? That was a turn that surprised me because I was like, oh, he's the dude doing voodoo. Like I thought he was going to be the person who's going to be like, here's the story. They say that on this very island, that sort of thing, like that person.
The magical black man.
Yeah, I was expecting a magical black man, not
Yeah.
a magical black man who's also a bad guy.
I think that they just needed to pad the plot on that. He's kind of an unnecessary character.
Oh, for sure. He does not need to be there. And
of course not.
It's making fun of voodoo in a way that is both disrespectful to the culture and also completely wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely. Well, my ideal for this would be like colorblind casting. Like, don't really make like
I did
race
as well.
a thing. Yeah, I ended up with mostly white people after I looked at it. But whoops. But hopefully,
I did not. But we'll come back around to that.
Yeah.
I think I'm 50-50, but it doesn't matter. So we're setting this on a ski slope, and something's terrorizing the ski hill, and it's scaring. You know what? Here's your plot. It's scaring everyone. Like we treat it like Johnny Tsunami. It's scaring people off of the snowboarding slope, but for some reason not showing up on the ski slope. So you think it's going to be just rich people trying to eminent domain out the poor people so they can have even more ski slopes and no more snowboarders.
My pitch was going to be something actually supernatural because that was a huge change for this movie from like the rest of the Scooby-Doo canon.
Yeah, and then after this movie, they started delving more into the supernatural. Like all the animated movies after this started being actually supernatural.
Yeah,
and I think we should do supernatural, but I think mine should be like kind of the red herring first thing that they solve Act 1, and then we learn that that's not what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Like that was going on, but it was also covering up the supernatural thing that was really going on.
I like that. That's a good red herring. So my pitch is to do Scooby-Doo meets the Thing.
Oh God, are you serious?
Not that gross, because the Thing is like a really, really nasty movie. It's a masterpiece, but it's not that fun but I just mean more like I think the body snatching element of the first of the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie, it works really well. And
so are we going to call it Scooby-Doo Among Us?
Maybe. Or the second title we think of. But
I'm just making fun of the fact that video game is very popular right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fun game. I highly recommend. But I think it would be fun to do something like that and have it be like some supernatural force that's body snatching people.
I 100% agree. I think that's a good idea.
And
especially because then we can do the Shaggy meme.
The Shaggy.
So for the people who aren't as online as I am, within the last few years, I don't specifically remember when this happened, there was some sort of something that meme that happened that was like kind of inspired by one of the animated movies where it's a body snatcher movie. It's one of the alien ones. And so, like an alien takes over Shaggy's body, and then there's a moment where like Shaggy like Kingsman locks a bar and then beats the shit out of a bunch of different people. What? And so the memes that have happened since then are like, Zoinks, this isn't even my or whatever Shaggy's voice is like, Scoob, this isn't even my final form. And it's just Shaggy as like a Super Saiyan Dragon Ball Z character just beating the shit out of people. This is like deep cut internet stuff.
Weird.
Yes. Very present.
I don't even know what animated movie you're referencing. I mean, I'm not very up on those because they make so many. But that's so strange. Let's not do that.
I Here's the thing: enough people know about it that it would. I feel like we have to. It's from Scooby Doo: Legend of the Phantasaur.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know. I haven't
Um,
seen it yet.
well, I'll add it to my list. Um,
Oh, and I'm sorry. You know what? It wasn't that he was body snatched. He was under the influence of hypnosis. Legend of the
oh,
Phantasaur features a scene where, under the influence of hypnosis, Shaggy beats up an entire biker gang.
oh
And
hell yeah.
yeah, inspired by that, it's just like this whole series of memes. Like you can look it up; it's a whole thing. They're pretty funny,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry. Continue.
Before we get down to brass tacks on who we're casting and such, how gory and scary do you think this movie should be?
Well, we're aiming for PG-13, right?
Yeah, but Drag Me to Hell is rated PG-13, and that movie's nasty.
There's there's an interesting thing with the rating system where it can be sexy or it can be violent, but it can't be both.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's kind of where the line has to be walked. Like, which do you value more, violence or sexiness?
violence.
Okay, then, well, especially because if we put it on a ski hill, everyone's going to be covered up anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe get. Honestly, I kind of don't love the idea of sexualizing them because in the 2002 one, it's a little bit more fun because they're clearly all supposed to be like past college age, like kind of adults. Um, I
But the
think in
characters are like 17.
yeah, I I think the characters are supposed to be older than that because I think they drink.
Yeah,
In this movie. I think they drink in this movie.
they definitely do. Because
Um,
Velma gets drunk in this movie, even though in the deleted scene they say she knows that that's a non-alcoholic beverage, right?
I think, and I'm sure that our cast is probably aiming a little younger than what the rest of these people were when Scooby Doo happened.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
definitely cast adults, but it's all adults that are like 18 to play younger, people that kind of walk the
yeah,
line a little bit.
yeah,
I think violence is okay. I think that like I don't think we can watch someone get torn in half, but
no,
I think we can definitely find an arm.
yeah. I think that we can do. I think that we can get a little gorier than any of the Scooby Doo things have in the past, and kind of attempt to make like a real horror movie, and kind of along the lines of Drag Me to Hell, which is great, Sam, if you've never seen it. Where so it's Sam Raimi, and Sam Raimi does a really great job of combining things that are terrifying but also a little funny at the same time.
Yeah,
And I think that that's very much a goal that this movie should have. Like,
yeah. I mean, it needs to be a true horror comedy.
so there's a scene in one of the nastiest things I've ever seen is in Drag Me to Hell, and like an old lady is like attacking our main character in a car, and the old lady's dentures fly out, and at some point, and then she grabs the lady's like jaw with her mouth. Like the old lady grabs the young woman's lower jaw with her mouth and bites down on it with her like gummy nasty like her no teeth gummy things, and it's one of the grossest fucking things I've ever seen. But it's also hilarious because this old lady is like sucking on this woman's face. Um,
All the words you're saying sound horrifying.
It's it's. I mean, like you definitely like intermittently scream and giggle a lot, which is one of my favorite feelings and something that not very many movies are that good at, even when they try to do it. But I think that kind of sense of humor is something that would really benefit a movie like this, especially since yeah, I think we could get away with some decently violent stuff and maybe put the Mystery Inc. gang through some more fucked up things than they've experienced in the past.
I agree with that, and I agree with that completely. Like the comp that I have that I kind of assumed for what this movie should be is Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, because like that is even though it's animated, like that is a scary movie. It's just a
Yeah,
scary movie that is animated. Like,
That movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
oh yeah, I watched it too, and it scared the shit out of me. And I mean, I'm an easy mark, but still.
Yeah. I was a way easier mark when I was a child. I mean, like I lost my mind when those women at the end turned into cat people.
Yeah, that was so weird and unexpected and unreasonable. And then it happens, and you're like, what is happening?
And then they like are turning Shaggy and Scooby into zombies, and it's just like it's really really jarring for a kids movie. But I do recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Same.
Don't show it to your kids, but you
Watch it on your own first. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure your kids can handle it.
And then when you want something to watch with your kids, watch the one with the Hex Girls because that one's fun.
Oh, I love that one. That one is really good. But Tim Curry plays the voice of the villain in that, and he was supposed to be Mr. Mondavarius in this.
Oh yeah, we talked about that because like I texted you a little bit as I was watching this movie, and I'm like, why is Mr. Bean in this movie?
It's so strange because I don't remember him ever being in anything else aside from, I guess, those like Johnny English movies, which I never care to see. But
yeah, he's just isn't my sense of humor.
No, me neither.
For lack of a better phrase, he isn't my cup of tea. Blue British joke, blah blah blah.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it's strange that he's in this movie and doesn't do any of the any of the Rowan Atkinson shtick at all.
And then it turns out that he's a robot that like was being piloted by Scrappy Doo the entire time. And I'm like, so then why didn't you make him weirder? Like there's a brief moment in the middle of the movie where he like scratches the back of his neck like a dog and like but with his hand, and it's like that's it, which first of all, you're a robot, don't do that, doesn't matter. Second of all, if you're going to make your dude a robot the entire time, make him super weird.
Yeah. Well, that was also an intentional misdirect in this movie.
Yeah, I would have been okay if it had been just like a full-on misdirect. What I would have done in the movie that we have now is I would have made the robot that Scrappy was piloting the girl that Shaggy was interested in.
Oh, that's actually kind of similar to a note that I had for later when we get to talking about casting.
Whose name was Mary Jane.
Oh my god. I felt so stupid when somebody pointed that out to me in college. And I was like, "Oh my god, of course!"
Of course.
And I talked to my mom about this movie too because she was like the one that took me to go see it in theaters, and I was like, "Mom, did you get these jokes?" And she was like, "Oh, well, not at the time, no."
Like at the beginning when Shaggy and Scooby are on their own and they're like making crazy burgers, but you see the van and a bunch of smoke coming out of the van.
Like that's just not what that meant to me as a kid.
Yeah, me neither. But like as an adult, I'm like, good bit.
I do think we should amplify the pot comedy aspects of this.
It's a pot horror comedy.
And the original like OG 60s Scooby-Doo was supposed to be like completely for adults.
Yeah.
And they like Scooby-Doo was not a character in it. It was just those four, and they were all stoners, and they would walk around solving mysteries and shit. And I think that it would be nice to like finally get to pay homage to that now that weed is not quite the touchy subject that it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, especially because a Scooby Snack makes someone chill out enough so they can calm down and go do the job.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm high at work every day.
These are the rules. Otherwise, it would just be too scary, and you'd have to jump into someone's arms.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And I can't do that now because of coronavirus.
Yeah, and that's the real thing that coronavirus has taken from us.
Just can't jump in anybody's arms anymore. But I think that we should keep those two and cut the overt sexuality, the 2002 movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially because it feels unnecessary and like distracting. Because there's a bunch of things in the movie that's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
It felt like a 90s movie, but it was a post-90s world. Like, this movie felt like it was pre-2001, but then came out in 2002. Like, the way they kind of, like, all, like, conga line onto an airplane and, like, no one gets checked, and it's like, no, this is 2002. Oh, my God. Absolutely not.
I didn't even think about that. Well, I mean, they probably shot it pre-9/11, given all the special effects in this movie. Oh, other question. What are we going to do about Scooby-Doo? Like, as a physical character?
I feel like you need to have a dog. Like any time where they try to make it not a dog, it just doesn't work, I don't think.
What do you mean not a dog?
So there's a bunch of comics and other things where it's like, or they could do like Dog Sees God, where Scooby Doo passed away 100 years ago or whatever. Or it's
Oh
like,
no. I mean like do you want to get like Homeward Bound it and get like a real dog, or do you want to
no,
do CGI
you
and
got to do
get like
CGI. I think you
okay.
have to go full cartoon with Scooby because otherwise, like, because you do like a dog's purpose or whatever, and it just feels weird.
A dog's purpose. Oh my god. Yeah, I agree, and I remembered this movie having really bad CGI, and then I rewatched it I rewatched it before I watched it for this podcast as
Because
kind of
that's what
just like
inspired the podcast.
yeah, I watched it like super late. I think I watched it on election night when I was like nervous and I was just like I need like something comforting that I've seen a million times. And I remembered Scooby Doo looking really off putting in this, but I was actually surprised at how good the CGI in it is.
Yeah, I would say Scooby's CGI is pretty good. Like the weird monsters and stuff are a little bit cartoony and weird to me, but
Yeah,
Scooby I thought was great.
yeah, they did a really good job at animating him, I thought. And I think that if we're going to do this and we're going to have a real budget for it, then I think that's a-okay. But that is a controversial subject because people were not happy with how Scooby Doo looked in this movie.
Yeah, but we're past that. That was 18 years ago. I think people can handle it now. And also I think CGI budget has gotten to a point where they can handle it now.
Yeah, I agree because they have so many people working on all those VFX shots and stuff. So yeah,
The other thing about this movie that we kind of talked about via text a little bit is that this movie, like, especially if you put back in the deleted scenes, it's not a Scooby movie, it's not a Shaggy movie, it's not a Freddy movie. It is the movie for Velma, fourth billing on the list, because she's the person who, like, needs the most and wants the most and, like, grows the most, sort of.
yeah, I agree. I think that she is probably considered one of the more underserved characters in the Scooby Doo universe, especially at the time. That's not really the case now with some of the newer Scooby Doo iterations that we've had, but she was always kind of the black sheep. And I definitely think that they highlighted that when they were writing what this was originally supposed to be. But yeah, it's mainly Velma's movie. I think that our movie should be more of a shared experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a. Oh, crap. What's the word I'm looking for? A group cast.
Yeah, ensemble.
Thank you. It's an ensemble movie.
And because like, well, I mean, pretty much everybody but Freddy gets real stuff to do.
Freddy's also the one that, like, watching this movie, I'm like, is Freddy gay? Because I watched this movie and I'm like, Freddy's gay, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I just thought Daphne was his beard.
So that's also, I was a little surprised that Velma was the one that they chose to be queer in the original draft of this and not Freddy. I guess like women being queer was not quite as offensive at the time, but like Freddy was, everybody's made gay jokes about Freddy. I had a Scooby-Doo drinking game in college, and Freddy's thing was drink every time Fred does something ambiguously gay, which turned into like every time you like bent over, we had to take a drink. Yeah, it was fun. I had some good nights with that drinking game.
I bet.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I definitely. So actually, let's maybe start with Fred since you brought it up.
Yeah.
I definitely think that we should make one of the Fab Four queer in this, and I definitely think it should be Fred.
I agree with that as well.
Maybe even have him come to terms with his sexuality throughout the course of the movie.
Especially if, like, Freddy ends up making out with a body snatcher he thought was a woman, and it turns out he's a dude, and then he's into it, and he just keeps going.
Yeah, hell yeah, done. But and he's probably also like dating Daphne at that point, and like they're gonna have their come to terms with whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things where it should be like, we've been kind of dating, but I'm gonna not, and Daphne's gonna be like, oh,
That makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, been wearing an ascot for like 60 years.
Yeah.
You're not hiding it very well, buddy. But so when I was originally casting this, I wanted to do somebody queer. So I have two names, but I'll whittle it down to one should we need to. So one of these is queer, one of these is not, I don't think, or like might be, but not out. So Charlie Carver, is one of a set of twins, but he was in the new Ratchet show on Netflix, which is awful, but I loved it. And he was also in like Desperate Housewives and The Leftovers, and he's just super cute, and he might actually like pull off the blonde hair that Freddie Prinze Jr. looks so weird in. And then my second pick is Austin Butler, who's a natural blonde. I think the blonde hair is really, it just looks strange on a lot of people that don't
Well,
have
because they're
that
going for
hair color.
cartoon blonde on a real person.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going for blonde. They're going for yellow.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. had to shave off all of his hair after shooting this movie because they destroyed it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was super toxic.
And I think he wore a wig in the second one as like part of his contract because he didn't want to lose all of his hair again.
Yeah, makes total sense to me.
But who did you have for Fred?
My Fred is an actor named Michael Cimino from Love, Victor, and he's also in Annabelle Comes Home.
Oh, yeah,
One of the things I tried to do with this, that specifically because I was going to be remaking this movie with you, is I tried to pull a bunch of different people who are in something horror/thriller related.
Yeah.
So that way, no matter who I say, you're okay with it because they did this horror thing.
Yeah, and I also think that everybody in this movie except for Velma, except for Linda Cardellini, had done a really famous horror movie.
Right.
Or two by this point.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that's something that we should take into account. So I do like this kid. I've only seen Annabelle Comes Home. The thing about him is that he's not actually gay.
Oops.
It was really, whenever they cast him in Love, Victor, everybody was like, okay, so you had Nick Robinson do it in the first one, who is not actually gay. Like that's fine because he was in Jurassic World or whatever. But like, come on,
if you do this again, you got a gay person.
You got a second chance, and you still did this. And like, also, maybe I'm being judgmental. Maybe the kid just isn't out yet. I'm not really one to judge. All I know is that he's not like an out gay man, and he's playing that like they did it again.
Yeah.
So. And I also don't think that he would want to do a gay character again if he's not actually gay, especially in such a big fashion as this. Like, I think they would be fine to doing it in like a smaller indie movie or whatever, but like tentpole, like everybody and their mom's going to see this. I don't think that they would go for that. So
I agree.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, that means that you said you're two dudes. One of them is gay, one of them isn't. We have to go with the one that's gay.
Yeah. Okay.
Which one?
Charlie Carver.
All right. We will probably end up going with Charlie Carver.
Probably. Yeah. Let's put that in the back of our brain. But little cutie. Yeah. You'd be so good at this.
So let's talk about Velma. For Velma, I cast someone who is much less well known. I've only seen her in one thing, and that one thing is garbage, but she is good in it. Okay. And the type of character she plays is so very Velma that I just know she'd be an excellent casting choice for her. Her name is Angelica Washington. Angelica is spelled Anjelika.
Oh my god, she's in Tall Girl. That's like one of the worst movies ever, right?
She is. I didn't even notice that. Like, I saw her in Stargirl, which is garbage, but she's very good in Stargirl, and she's also in something called Girls Room. Like, she keeps being in these terrible things, but yeah. I think she's pretty good. Like, she's incredibly sweet. I think she's talented, and like the character she plays in Stargirl is like the nerdy one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, she seems cool.
Yeah.
My pick for this was Lana Condor, who's the lead of To All the Boys They Loved Before.
Yeah, I've definitely used her before. She's great. She might have a little bit too much confidence for a Velma.
There's acting, you know,
of course there is.
She's getting paid a lot of money to not have confidence.
That is true. For the money I'm planning on shelling out for her, I would expect a total lack of confidence.
Maybe we should go with yours because it's a little racist to pick an Asian woman to be the
There is also one. That. There's also that, and I considered that.
Yeah.
But I do think Angelica Washington is probably the right choice.
Yeah, I think that's great. We can pony up to that.
So tell me about your Shaggy.
So my Shaggy, I've only seen this kid in one thing, but it was the newest Halloween movie that came out in 2018, and he plays the mean boyfriend of Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter, and like the role that he plays is not similar to Shaggy at all. But he has the long curly hair that I think would look right on a Shaggy, and I think he would really be able to pull off the stoner thing. I'm sure he's been in other stuff that I just haven't seen because I don't usually watch things with 20-year-old people in it. I tend to skew a little older, but his name's Dylan Arnold, Dylan, and I really like him. I think he's good. His like comedic. His All of the kids that they cast in the new Halloween have really good comic timing, and like they were good at like riffing off of one another and stuff. It was a great movie. If anybody hasn't seen that,
All
but
right,
that's
cool.
Who's your pitch?
So mine leans a little bit more into the comedy. He's like kind of a stand-up and a rapper, and also very definitely a stoner. I went with Little Dicky, Dave Bird, on the condition that he shaves his beard.
Oh, Dave Bird. Oh, he's the lead of that Dave show.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, he would have to shave his beard, but he would. Yeah, I think that's a good Shaggy.
I
As
think both
far,
of our choices are good. I think mine might be a little bit too old.
I think he
Um,
is too, though. Yeah, that's what I'm. He would look really strange next to the other people that we cast.
but I will also
Um,
say that like one of the weird things about the show is that I think canonically, Velma, Daphne, and Fred are all like 17, and Shaggy's like 22.
you know, that's that's not the worst point.
But I think we should probably go with your guy for that reason because I think Dave Bird is a little bit too old. But I'm going to double check that right now.
I think he would. Yeah, I think he would play.
Yeah, he's 32.
Oh no, he can't be in this movie.
No, he's too old.
Sorry, buddy, you're too old. So am I.
I mean, me too. But like, yours is a good choice. But I'm like, Dave Bird, like 10 years ago, is the perfect Shaggy.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. If we were, yeah. Also, I don't think that I said this. My ideal remake for this would just be Scooby Doo 3: Return to Spooky Island. All these people are still around. Like they're not busy. Linda Cardellini, of all of them, Linda Cardellini is probably the busiest.
I mean, she's the one with the active show that's supposed to be good. Also,
Yeah, I
she's
know.
Hawkeye's wife.
Oh yeah, I mean that's done. She's not busy doing that anymore. But she did have that for a minute. Versus like, where's your fucking Marvel Universe character, Sarah Michelle Gellar? She was supposed to be an X-Men. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Was she supposed to be Jean Grey?
I think she was supposed to be Mystique.
Oh, that is a terrible choice.
Really? Rebecca
Yeah,
Romaine Stamos isn't too far off from Sarah Michelle Gellar.
yeah, but they carry themselves differently.
Yeah,
Like Mystique is. I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I like even though Sarah Michelle Gellar is like I don't know in her 40s at this point.
yeah, she's like 42 or something.
Like I so associated her with like the teenager Buffy, and just like she just like has that energy of just like come on guys.
Yeah,
And Rebecca Romaine Stamos does not carry herself that way. She carries herself in a way of like, well, this is what's about to fucking happen.
yeah,
And I think that just like attitude is much more important for Mystique.
I know. I miss her. I really like her. She's underrated, I think.
I agree. She did a fantastic job.
But since we were talking about Daphne, let's get into who our Daphne picks were.
Yeah.
Because when they cast this original movie, Daphne was the first one that they wanted to get done.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. The Daphne that I have, like, I don't particularly care about Freddie being blonde. I don't particularly care about the look of any of these.
Yeah.
That said, I did cast a redhead for Daphne because, like, I don't know. That's just kind of what I went with, and I thought that this particular actress would be fun because I think she can kind of like play the blasé Emma Stone. I'm so over it,
Yeah.
but also be like super upbeat and fun, and just like depending on what she wants. And she's also in an episode of Twin Peaks.
Who is it?
Jane Levy.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Thank you.
That actually ties into my director choice later. Funny enough.
Perfect. So Jane Levy's also in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. She is Zoe.
Yeah, she's also the lead of the Evil Dead movie and or the 2013 Evil Dead movie and Don't Breathe.
Yeah, there you go.
She might play a little old next to these other people, but I'm kind of
Probably.
fine with that.
She is also late 20s, early 30s, I think, but like she also looks very young.
She's been playing people in their like older people in more recent things. So I'm sure she's like trying to get herself out of the hole that looking like a forever teenager will dig you into. So my pick for Daphne was Anya Taylor-Joy from The
From
Witch
and Queen's Gambit.
and Queen's Gambit and Emma. I didn't see Emma, but I heard she was really funny in it, and I've never seen her be funny.
I've heard the same.
Which is definitely something that we need in this. We know Jane Levy can be funny. The only reason that I'm not jumping up and down about Jane Levy is because I don't know if she would play this age range, but I do really like her. You know what? Fuck it. We're all 25.
Yeah.
Well, I think our Vilma and our Shaggy are a little younger, and then Fred and Daphne are older. Maybe
I
they
think
don't all
that's
have to
true.
be the same age.
They don't. They're friends. I mean, I'm how much older than you? You're
I'm
what?
27. I think you're 5 years older than me.
You're 27. I'm 32. So yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
fine.
I think that's fine. Yeah, and
Whatever.
and I think Charlie Carver is around the same age as Jane Levy is. So that would work. Who did you pick anybody for Scooby?
Charlie Carver is 32 years old.
Really? That's surprising.
Yeah, he is 32 years old.
Well,
Well, that settles that.
good to know. Yeah, no, then we can cast whoever we want to.
Yeah, and because Jane Levy's 30.
Yeah.
So
Okay, that's fine.
okay, whatever. So yeah, so and
Sarah Michelle
Joan
Gellar was
Washington-
like 27, I think, when she did this.
I don't know, I don't remember, but yeah, something like that. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm fine with it.
We've got our Scooby Gang minus Scooby Doo. So Scooby Doo, I think obviously we need to go with Andy Serkis.
Oh my god, I wrote that too. I was hoping that you did. I thought it was going to be so funny, Sam.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What did you do for Scrappy Doo?
Oh, so Scrappy Doo is not in my remake of this.
All right. So what I did was Andy Serkis again, but smaller.
That's funny. That's a good joke.
So I think that's kind of who we had, like, in terms of like the joke of like, haha, get Andy Serkis to do like whatever. I think Scooby is going to be pretty much fully CGI. So I kind of went with two voice actors for both Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. I put in Scrappy Doo. I assumed we'd be going with him as the villain again, but I think it makes sense to have some sort of something else.
Yeah.
But in that case, I like Scrappy Doo works so well, and I think it's funny to have him in there, even as another red herring or something else.
Yeah, and I definitely think that we should like wink and nod to the strange history of Scooby-Doo. Like there was a season where like Vincent Price was a character, and they would like drove around in a red van for no fucking reason. But yeah.
So I have two voice actors. I don't know if you have someone in addition to Andy Serkis.
No, I didn't. I just had my joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. I fully stand by that joke.
We both made it. So
yeah,
clearly somebody's up to something.
The trick is to have a button.
Yeah.
So my not my Andy Serkis. My Scooby Doo is just Billy West.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Yeah, it's a good, phenomenal voice actor. He's like, if you need someone who's like can do a weird, crazy voice, he's the voice of Zoidberg. And just listening to his interview talking about how he created the voice of Zoidberg, you're like, oh, yeah, you can do anything you ever want, Billy West. You're a genius.
Yeah, he also does the voice of Fry in that same show. It's so
he
crazy.
Does, and Zapp Brannigan.
Oh yeah, Zapp Brannigan's not that hard though. No. I can do Zapp Brannigan.
Phrasing. So that I felt was a little bit obvious, and then I thought kind of like as a joke throwaway, I thought it'd be fun to have Scrappy Doo be John DiMaggio.
Who?
John DiMaggio, the voice of Bender.
Oh. That would be cute. That would be funny.
He's also the voice of Jake the dog in Adventure Time.
I knew that. I knew that was the same voice. They kind of sound similar.
Yeah. Like, he can really only do the one voice, but he gets to do all these really cool things because, by all accounts, he's an incredibly cool dude. And I just thought it'd be funny if, like, you see Scrappy Doo like, "Ba-da-da-da-da-da, puppy power," and it's, kill all humans, da-da-da-da. Because, like, the Bender, the Bender energy is also very much the Scrappy Doo energy.
Yeah, in this movie, correct.
Yeah. So I just thought that'd be fun.
Yeah, I took Scrappy Doo out just because that joke really only works one time.
I agree. Like, that, you can only get people with that trick once.
It's a great trick. I mean, like that.
So good.
That's like one of the things that works the best about the 2002 movie.
Yeah, which is why I think, because that is such a good trick and so well done, everyone's going to be looking for it in our movie, and so we need to have something that, like, has that and then takes the air out of it because we don't know what's actually about to happen.
Yeah. So what if, before we get into like all the random side characters
And I really only have two more.
Oh, I wrote a couple.
Cool. I'm excited.
I have like 6.
Great.
But what if the reason that they're there is that they're opening like a Scooby-Doo memorabilia museum or like mystery?
Oh, okay, good.
At
that
the
reminds
like
me,
Stila or whatever.
That reminds me, because there was something in the movie that bothered me. Like, something like their inconsistent fame, I thought was very, very strange.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is that, like, at the beginning of the movie, Pamela Anderson walks out and goes, "It was thanks to the Scooby Gang. Everyone knows the Scooby Gang." And then there's, like, news like, Fred, what's going on? And it's like these people who, like, everyone knows who they are, but also they don't.
Yeah. I think that they should be completely anonymous.
I would go the other way. Like, I think they need to be, like, well known, and it's now getting in their way. Especially if they're going to an opening of a Scooby-Doo museum.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, people should be getting in their way and, like, fucking up the mystery or whatever throughout the course of this movie.
Like, I think they need to be too famous for their own good.
Yeah. And I also think that, like, the Scooby-Doo museum is a more, like, plausible way to get everybody to a mountain than here's a free trip to whatever.
Yeah.
Because no trip is ever free.
Correct.
It is something that a lot of people have to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Hashtag timeshares. But I also
right?
think that if they have, like, this big public persona that everyone's familiar with, and that could even contribute even more to, like, the Freddy angle of, like, they're
not letting it come out.
Yeah, like, they're this very famous relationship, and so there's this immense public pressure to, like, stay together. And he's like, but this just isn't who I am.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. I think these are all good notes that would make this into a better movie than the 2002 one. I say my heart sank as I said that because I love this movie.
I like it too, but I think we can both agree it's not a good movie, but it's a super fun movie.
Yeah, it served its purpose, and it's really, really fun to watch. It's great comfort food, but it's not exactly a great film.
Yeah, like, I feel the same way about Josie and the Pussycats. Like, I love Josie and the Pussycats, but I will agree it's not a good movie.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's great, but it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree. I would agree with that. And let's try to make a good movie.
Yeah,
I think, because there's some meat in the live action Scooby-Doo movie. Like, there's just something that nobody's figured out how to master yet, that I feel like in the next, like, 5-10 years somebody will probably crack the code. Maybe it's us, Sam.
It might be, because it definitely wasn't Scoob.
I know. Oh my god. Well, I read the script for that, like, forever ago, and I thought it was fine. Like, it was cute that they brought in all of the other Hanna-Barbera characters, whatever. But we don't need an Avengers-style tentpole for the fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
No.
Like,
and besides, if you want a Hanna-Barbera tentpole, it's Way Out Wacky Racers. The end.
Yeah. And then
you just make freaking It's a Mad World, but animated.
I actually made a baby pitch for a Wacky Races movie when I was watching Scooby-Doo one of the times. That would be like Jumanji, like the remake or whatever, where it's like the video game.
Yeah, I like it.
Regular people get, like, sucked into that, and then they're in the Wacky Races game, and it's like half animated and half live action.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, Scoob was not. I mean, I didn't see it because I read the script. I'm sure it didn't change that much.
I mean, it couldn't have changed that much. They had Simon Cowell in it.
Oh, oof.
And that is a clear indication that your script is dated.
Dated, yeah. He got weird plastic surgery. I mean, doesn't everybody, but
I mean, I was literally talking to two friends yesterday, and they were talking about how, oh, we just got some fillers. I'm like,
what?
You are in your early 30s.
Why? Don't do anything to your face this young.
I don't know.
You're not supposed to do that. You're actually not supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredibly irresponsible, and it's like one of those things. It's like, isn't it great when you're this age, but like in 20, 30 years, it'll be like, fuck, why did I start down this path?
I know, yeah, you're gonna
turn back.
You're gonna have like really bad body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
But where were we in the actual Scooby-Doo conversation? I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about side characters.
Oh, okay.
So I have Mondavarius as kind of like a red herring / actual villain, and then I have Mary Jane.
Okay.
I'm assuming you have kind of both of them.
Oh yeah, I have both. You do your Mondavarius first, and then I'll do my pitch.
So, because they cast Mr. Bean, I wanted to cast someone who was also super duper weird, but is also super duper funny and good. So I first saw this actor in a show that no one else has watched because it was the final season of Community that went to be on like Yahoo.
Oh yeah.
There was also a show at the same time when Yahoo was like, we can be a thing, called Other Space. And I loved Other Space, and it makes me sad that it doesn't exist because it's like a Paul Feige show too. And this actor was in Other Space. He ended up being in the new Ghostbusters. He's in Avenue 5. His name is Neil Casey, and he plays a real weirdo, but he's so funny.
Oh, this guy, I like him. He's good in he's good in stuff. So my pitch for I fucking hate Greener Grass though. That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So my pitch for Mr. Monteberry, it came out at Sundance a couple years ago. I think it's on Hulu. It's like trying too hard to be like a funny David Lynch movie. It's like David Lynch meets John Waters, and it's just too much. It's like sensory overload. It's not good.
Got it.
So my pitch for Mr. Bonavarius was actually to have it be a husband and wife duo, and have the villain end up being the wife.
Love it.
Since the Scrappy-Doo angle is probably not going to survive in this iteration, so I put Kurt Russell as the man because of his, he was in The Thing, and like he's been doing like the Christmas movies. Like I think he would be down for something more like a little bit more like kiddish like this.
Yeah.
And then his wife is Judy Greer.
That's fun. I mean, Judy Greer needs to be in more things.
I agree. She's in tons of shit, but she needs to be in more. Pack that schedule.
Exactly. I mean, was it Judy Greer that wrote the book? That actress from That One Thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's the actual title. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
Which she is that actress from That One Thing.
Yeah. I will say that Judy Greer is 45 years old and Neil Casey is 39.
And Kurt Russell's like in his 60s, I think.
Yeah, so I would say let's go with Judy Greer and Neil Casey.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a good pairing.
They're the Montevarii.
Ooh, gross. I hated that. So, yeah, I think that's great for both of them. And Judy Greer plays the villain in one of my favorite movies, Cursed, with Christina Ricci. And does a phenomenal job, and I would love to give her the opportunity to do something like that again, because nobody likes that movie and nobody watches it.
Nope.
Yeah, let's move on to Mary Jane. Who did you have?
I went first for the last one. Go ahead.
I put Jessica Roth from Happy Death Day.
That's a good choice.
She's also in La La Land. She's just really funny. Like she kind of carries the Happy Death Day movies. Which, like, those movies are, like, kind of smart. I hate that Groundhog Day trope, and I'm over it when you stop making things with that. But she is really, really good in those movies.
I did like Palm Springs.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's very, very good.
Yeah, I heard the exact opposite.
You heard the opposite? I've only heard good things about it. Like, I don't know anyone who didn't like it.
I talked to a couple people that didn't like it, but we have different friends, Sam.
That is accurate.
Yeah, who did you have for Mary Jane?
So I went with Ana de Armas.
Oh, she's too big to agree to
It's
tiny
Ideal
role.
Remake. We can get whoever we
That's
want.
true. We can get Meryl fucking Streep to play
We
Mary Jane if we
genuinely
want
could.
to. Let's just pick Meryl Streep. No, we can't do that.
But like, especially because in my version, it turns out she's Scrappy Doo, or she's like a secret. Like in my version, like I thought Mary Jane would have been a better person to be revealed to be Scrappy Doo.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of she's come in and she's like, oh, she's the love interest because she's so pretty, which is true. She's extremely pretty, and then
Yeah.
she just gets to do weird shit. Like, if we're going to bring in Anna de Armas and we're going to make Judy Greer the like final actual villain, Anna de Armas needs to be brutally murdered.
Yeah. I think we should do Jessica Roth and have her be brutally murdered.
Here is my pitch to make it not Jessica Roth.
Okay.
We have so many white people.
That's true.
Like, I'm okay with opening it to someone beyond Anna de Armas, but I would prefer to have at least just one. And of course, then it opens to the trope of, oh, kill your minority, which is also not good.
What about Lana Condor?
I'm good with that. Let's make it Lana Condor.
Yeah, perfect. Done. She's also super pretty and quirky and would probably be like a good red herring.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fun.
I have a lot of minorities for the smaller roles in this.
Cool.
So it doesn't. That can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was the wrong way to say that.
Well, so the guy with the metal shirt in the movie has so much screen time in this movie, and his name in the credits is Velma's friend. He does not have a name. Like, what the fuck? I looked up his Instagram, and he like teaches acting in Queensland. Like, he was definitely a local hire. Like, they probably got him super last minute.
Well, they needed someone for Velma to talk to.
But I know. I just think it's funny that like Velma's friend. So I picked Velma's friend in this because fuck it, she's bisexual too. I put Camila Mendez from Riverdale.
I'm looking her up.
She's great. She's one of the more she's one of the better actors on that show. Well, the girls in that show are better than the boys, just by rule of thumb.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know who she is.
Yeah, she's super cool, and I think she would be a good red herring and like a good supporting character in a Scooby Doo universe. And then for Fred's friend, since he's clearly gonna knock on somebody, I picked Kenyon Lonsdale from Love, Simon. He's the kid that ends up being the actual love interest in Love, Simon.
Say his name again.
So it's Kyenyan.
Is he actually gay?
Yes, confirmed homosexual. And then,
oh god. For more on this, we go to our man live on the scene, Paul.
I would love to report on whether or not some of the people are gay. Just like stand outside their house. So I'll just run through the rest of these really quick.
Wait, this is the guy from what's its face from Flash. He's Wally West in Flash. Oh yeah, this guy's great. I love this guy. And he keeps getting written off the show, and he's great, and they need to bring him back. And I stopped watching The Flash, but still.
I was about to say, like, damn, Sam, that's too much time commitment. I can't watch none of those shows. I started watching Arrow when that happened, and then I realized it was 22 episode seasons, and I was like, I think I'm good.
I was really into it for a while, but then they lost me, which is a shame.
Yeah, the weird one that has the long name that I forget. It's like the big group of everybody.
Legends of Tomorrow, I still watch because it's the best one.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard that one. Like, if you're gonna watch those, that one's the one to see.
It is consistently silly and wacky and weird, and keeps doing that, and that's all it needs to do, and it's great.
Yeah, and I'm here for that. So for the creepy bald guy, like the guy that does like the songs during the ceremony.
Oh yeah,
I picked Jim Rash.
Yep, that makes sense.
For the buff bad guy, I picked Dave Bautista.
That also makes sense.
For the Rasta voodoo guy, I picked Ken Jeong.
Absolutely not.
Not?
No, hold on one second.
Why? I think he'd be so funny in a role like that.
He is, but this movie's already super disrespectful to like that whole culture, and to then make it Ken Jeong would make it also not very respectful to that culture.
Well, it wouldn't be. It would not be the same type of voodoo because we moved locations though.
Yeah, so we can't call him the voodoo guy. Like, I'm happy to have Ken Jeong because he's
Oh,
very, very funny, but he can't be voodoo. Like, we have to come up with what his character would actually be.
mystical mountain hermit.
Yeah, if you want to make him a mountain hermit, great, down.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that he should be in like Rasta gear and like dreadlocks and shit. That would not be a good move. Oh my god! In the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, Jack Black has dreads and like speaks like he's black, and it's so strange.
Ew.
He's like uncredited in the movie, and it's like he finished filming this and was like, I don't want my name on that.
I mean, good for him. That's probably
yeah,
fine.
no, it is. I mean, if you've ever seen If I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, it's not good. I love it to death. It's amazing, but it's not good.
Fair. Cool. Is that it in terms of like your actors, or and are you ready to move on to writer director?
Oh, I put Melvin Dew as Carrot Top just because I think Melvin Dew's a really funny throwaway joke in this.
Yeah, but Carrot Top's is apparently went super Christian.
Oh, ew, never mind. Melvin Dew's not in the movie.
Yeah, Melvin Dew is a great throwaway joke, but I want to not recognize him.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So let's
let's talk about writer. Let's talk about director.
Skedaddle.
My writer is actually a writing team.
Oh, mine too.
Because they have handled kind of this style of adaptation before, and they also have written kind of like the scary thriller stuff before.
Yeah.
So they're the writing team behind Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase. And they also wrote on The Purge, and they also wrote on Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, weird.
So their names are Nina Fior and John Herrera.
Cool.
And I just thought they'd be fun. Because I never saw it, but I'm told Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase is actually good.
Oh, you're the first person to say anything about that movie to me.
That's the thing, because it's supposed to be good, and then got completely shoved aside because then they made a Riverdale style Nancy Drew show.
That makes sense. I didn't see it. I'm aware that it exists, but that's good to know. I picked for writing the guys that wrote the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
Shit. Sorry. I have like 5 things open on my phone. Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese.
Yeah.
Just because like I think they could really handle something like this and make it really punchy and funny.
I think they could. Like, they're obviously very good and very funny, and I think that they're very good at writing the hard R comedy. They can handle the action, the sequences. Like, I think they would be very good.
Yeah.
My pitch is still for Nina Fior and John Herrera, though. A, because woman, and B, because I just think it's fun to get someone a little bit lesser known.
Yeah, I agree. Especially since my director choice is pretty well known.
Mine is too, and I'm pretty sure you're going to veto my director.
Yeah, I am.
Cool. Then we're going with my writers. Damn it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Compromise.
So then, if you're about to veto my director, let me at least tell you who it is.
Yeah.
It's someone who walks the line between horror and comedy very well. And I know you're not necessarily a huge fan of his movies, but publicly, lots of people are very huge fans of Jordan Peele's movies.
Oh, he'd be terrible at this. This is not the movie for him.
But you mean the guy behind Keanu? Keanu.
I didn't see that.
Neither did I. No one did.
I know. I heard it was cute, though. So my pitch for this is Fede Alvarez, who did the Evil Dead remake with Jane Levy and also did Don't Breathe. I think that he would have a good eye for something like this, and his background in horror would really help some of the horror scenes pop. Jordan Peele is not... He's good at comedy and horror separately, as separate entities, but he is not good at blending the two at all.
Here's the thing. I think you're probably right. I think this is the correct director. But if we're going to go with this director, I think we also probably need to go with your writers. Because if he's the director, we have no comedy. And this needs comedy. And if it's not in the script, it's not going to exist.
Are your people comedy?
No, they're Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase, The Purge, and Handmaid's Tale. 3 things that are not known for being funny. Yeah.
Handmaid's Tale is pretty funny. I don't know. I'm kidding. I hate that show. Literally like torture to watch. Yeah, I mean, we can go with mine if you're fine with that.
I am. I just I like my 2. I think they're good choices. But if your director had been a little bit more comedic centric, I think that would be a place for that to live. Yeah. So since we don't have that, we need the comedy in there somewhere. And
I agree.
and if it's not going to come from the director, it needs to come from the writers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is going to be real bleak.
Because ideally, my vision for this was not having a ton of comedy in the direction, but having a lot of like good, like funny dialogue.
Yeah, I mean that's Scooby Doo.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they would be a good match for it.
Yeah, I know you do because they're your picks.
That's yeah. Well, and that is not funny. There are some laugh lines in Evil Dead before it makes you shit your pants.
I'm sure that's true, but he strikes me as the sort of person who would be able to take a joke and do it very well, as opposed to be someone who can like contribute comedy to something that already exists.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that he would be good at like making the cast like riff with one another or whatever. Especially since our cast, they're not dry is probably the wrong word. I would describe
them as fun but not funny.
Yeah, I agree. Which is kind of the case for most of the people in the 2002 movie,
with a couple exceptions. Like I think, obviously our Monteverii are very, very funny.
Yeah,
and like we have Jim Rash, Dave Bautista, and Ken Jeong. They're hysterical.
Yeah,
but like it'll be the people kind of like around the Scoobies.
Yeah, because the Scooby characters are all kind of straight men for the most part for Scooby-Doo, anyways.
Yeah. With the exception of Shaggy.
Yeah.
And our Shaggy is Dylan Bird. Well-known comedian Dylan Bird.
Wait, I thought we picked the other one because he was too old.
No. I'm sorry. Dave Bird is the other one. What is Dylan's last name?
Dylan Arnold.
I wrote down the wrong last name. Dylan Arnold.
Wait, did you just mash the two together? Like,
yes, that is literally exactly what I did.
Oh, and I also had a musician cameo because that was super important to this movie, and like the soundtrack was like well bought. I put either Lorde, Billie Eilish, or Lizzo. I think Lizzo would be really funny.
Everyone's a fan of Lizzo. We're going with Lizzo.
Yay! And then yeah, that was all I had. So we can do run through it.
So what's the name for our Scooby-Doo movie? It's Scooby-Doo and the Ski Slope Ghosts sort of thing. Like, what are we actually calling this?
Scooby Don't.
Scooby-Doo Double Black Diamond.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a working title.
Or Scooby-Doo on the Bunny Slope.
Well, we should do it, if we're going to do like a full title like that, we should do it in the style of the old animated movies. The old animated, like Scooby-Doo in the case of the blah, 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 blah. Let's just do Scooby-Doo the movie.
Yeah,
to differentiate it from the original one. I didn't come prepared to class.
I didn't come up with one either, but because I knew that we were going to do something completely different. Scooby-Doo and the Scary Thing. Scooby-Doo meets Laurel and Hardy.
Oh my god. I rewatched that like the one where they have the special celebrity guest stars, and the animation is so bad, Sam.
It's real bad because it's just the same animation over and over again. Or we could just call it Scooby-Doo Where Are You?
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Let's do that. Yeah, because it's it's a throwback to the original series, anyways.
Yeah. And because it's missing people, so Scooby-Doo Where Are You? It makes total sense.
Totally. Yeah. Done. Perfect.
All right. Then let me take you through our Scooby-Doo Where Are You cast. Velma is going to be played by Angelica Washington. Shaggy is going to be Dylan Arnold. Daphne is going to be Jane Levy. Freddy is going to be Charlie Carver. The Monteverii are going to be Neil Casey and Judy Greer, with Mary Jane played by Lana Condor. Scooby-Doo is going to be voiced by Billy West, with the throwaway Scrappy-Doo voiced by John DiMaggio. Velma's friend will be Camila Mendez, and Fred's friend will be Kenyon Lonsdale. The creepy bald guy enforcer dude is going to be Jim Rash. The buff bad guy / enforcer dude is going to be Dave Bautista. Our crazy mountain hermit is going to be Ken Jeong, and our musician cameo will be Lizzo. All of this will be written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, and then directed by Fede Alvarez.
Yay!
Yeah,
you pronounced it right.
Cool. That is Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Paul, you going to go see this movie?
Absolutely. I'm making this movie. Of course.
Woo! Yeah. So then now's the time. Do you have anything you'd like to plug or social media you'd like people to follow?
I'm good. Thank you though.
Fair. If you're
sorry, you can follow me on Instagram at Paul Presley. It's misspelled because I don't care about social media. PAWLPREZLEE, I think.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I'll find it. If you want to follow me, I'm at Sam Gasch, SAMGASCH on Twitter. If you want to follow the podcast, it is at Ideal Remake on Twitter or Instagram, but mostly Instagram, or join us on Facebook. Or, since it's December now, the season of giving, take some time and give us the gift that we truly want. Go onto Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Do that for all the podcasts you like, because we would all really, really appreciate it. Really. We really would. So anyway, let's end with this. Paul, thank you so much for being on the show. What is your favorite quote from the movie Scooby-Doo?
Mary Jane, like, that's my favorite name.
Awesome.